G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for watching the Wildkard Rugby Show. Like, comment, and subscribe. And yes, you are here today because finally we are going to be answering one of the most frequently asked questions in my comments section every week, almost every review. And that question is, Wildcard, did you not see the forward pass on the weekend? And why didn't you talk about it on your review? Now, I always reply with the same thing, that the camera angle tends to play on a bit of an angle, the bit of a tricks on your eyes, and makes it really difficult to see whether the ball has gone forward or not. And often, I leave it to the TMO and the referees on the field to make that decision because they have better angles looking at these sort of things. I don't want to speculate just based on, the live broadcast alone. So this weekend, there was a pretty good example of this, and I think that we can take a look at this, and maybe you guys can start to understand what I'm talking about and why I don't like to speculate on forward passes at all in my review. So here's a perfect one. This is pretty much where Ireland broke the English and, pulled away and won the game. Senile made the break, and this pass here, I thought was forward. Initially, I thought this was forward. I thought surely they're going to call this back. You can see that. It looks like it's gone forward. And Ty Burns scores this one. And in the replay, there's a Spartacan angle. So let's take a look at this. It's actually, so you can tell here, it's actually not forward at all. It's actually a perfectly legal pass from Senile to Ty Burns. And this is why I don't speculate on forward passes. Because the initial angle, the way the camera is pointing at on the field, looked very forward to me. And in reality, it's actually not forward at all. So a lot of times, maybe the referees didn't call it because they actually have these angles, especially the TMO. They might actually have these angles that he's reviewed and they just don't show it on TV. I think they should show these angles on TV. But maybe that's what, a lot of times they just don't show it because, it depends on the TV broadcaster, TV station. They see different things. The TMO could be looking at something and the TV broadcast station is probably showing something else. And yeah, and a lot of times this is why they don't get called, because it's not actually forward. And this is why I don't speculate on forward passes unless there's very, very clear evidence, a very convincing camera angle that shows that it's gone forward. I would, I generally don't speculate on that. And also a lot of people saying offside as well. It's exactly the same thing. A lot of times if the camera is pointing at a big angle, especially very, very far away, a lot of the players on the camera look like they're offside, but in reality, they're actually not. They're actually aligned, especially when the camera is kind of zoomed in onto the ruck. It makes the players around the rucks, especially further out, maybe like around the 12 position, look like they're offside. So, but in reality, they're not. So a lot of times it's not because the referee are not doing their jobs, but because it's actually they're not. It's actually the camera playing tricks on all of us, being viewers on TV. It is a bit of an issue, but yeah, I think it's just one of the things that people need to start to be a little bit more aware of before they, go out and start, tweeting at referees. Why didn't you see the forward pass? So yeah, with that being said, Six Nations round 1. Some pretty nice results and expected results. France absolutely destroying the Welsh, 43 points to nil. Scotland, 31 points to 19. I did not do a review on this game because, I really don't know too much about the Italian team. And Scotland, I thought, had a pretty good start. And then they kind of just taking the foot off the gas, allowing the Italians to level the score at 19 points apiece before the Scottish team pulled themselves back forward, 31 points to 19. Hugh Jones had a really, really excellent game. And it's almost like, yeah, this has been a plaguing issue for the Scotland team, not just in the small specific games, but in the overall kind of performance of the Six Nations. They tend to, just let the intensity drop off after 1 or 2 wins, especially beating England. They feel like they've completed the whole season and just completely, completely just let everything go for the remainder of the season. So that's something that Scotland really need to kind of improve this year. And, it is, I know a Calcutta Cup is really important for them, but yeah, it has been a plaguing issue for many, many years. The drop-off after beating England has been very, very noticeable and substantial, and I thought Scotland was dropping off half-time. This is not even England. I really need to lift that up this weekend, especially against the Irish at home. England versus Ireland. this was, probably already talked about on my review, but I just thought that, the some of you guys were saying that Ireland letting England scoring twice in 5 minutes in the last 5 minutes was a strategic thing. I don't think so. I think that, that bonus point could end up come back to hurt Ireland in the end because, the people think that now England is motivated to beat France. I just think that the points difference, the tries scored, eventually, if there's a three-way tie between France, Ireland, and England, you're going to have to score more tries in your game against the Ireland versus France game, in your game against France, to try to even, to break the tiebreaker, right? The point difference, and then it's tries scored, and giving England some free tries, just not really ideal in any sort of situation in terms of a competition like this where a lot of the teams are quite close together. So we got Italy, Wales this weekend, potentially the wooden spoon. England, France, a big one in Twickenham, and then Scotland versus Ireland, another big one in Murrayfield. And the world rankings hasn't changed at all overall, but Wales is facing the prospect this weekend to drop below Georgia for the first time in history. If Wales lose to Italy, they're going, and then Georgia's going to play Netherlands this weekend. And Georgia already beat Netherlands the week just passed. So if they win again this weekend, they were going to be ahead of Wales, and then if Wales lose to Italy, they will fall below Georgia for the first time ever to 12, and it's going to be the 14th loss in the row for the Welsh on the Gatlin. I talked about Gatlin's performance on the weekend. I think the biggest issue is that Gatlin has brought back a whole backline that pretty much hasn't played for a year, let alone any sort of coordination any sort of strategic coordination at all. I just think that it was really poor planning from Warren Gatland. He's been just chopping and changing the players way too much over the last year and hasn't got any consistency from any of his lineup. And then it's no surprises on the weekend that the Welsh was just kind of like doing training runs, looked like to me. Not really having like no creativity at all in their back line because they just haven't played together for a very long time. So Ireland suffered a couple of injuries. So Thomas Arum and Shane Bolton has been called into the squad. Mac Hansen might have a bit of an injury. He had a knees heavily strapped. Finlay Bealham as well sustained a leg injury. So both of these players might be on the watch. And Ty Furlong also not 100%, so potentially going to be an issue. I think the only person they're concerned about is Finlay Bealham and not be able to be not be available this weekend. But Mac Hansen is still on the watch for his comeback. Here's another thing. Talking about chopping changes, I think there's another thing I was talking to some of you guys in the comment section, and I thought I'd just really quickly take a look at the stats. The amount of times Ireland has changed their fly halves in the last 4 years or so has been quite incredible. The amount of halfback they've just thrown out of the thrown out to the dumpster over the years. And you can see that Jack Crowley has 20 caps. We've got Joey Carberry, 37 caps. We've got Ross Byrne, 22 caps. We've got Frawley, 8 caps. And we've got Billy Burns, 7 caps. And we've got Prendergast, who's currently apparently the favorite to be the number 10 jersey holder, 4 caps. So if you add up all these caps together, it's almost 90 caps. And some of these players have played together in starting and reserves. So let's just say we halve those caps, and then it's still about 45 caps. Potentially could have gone on to one player, and that is almost a half century player, and that is about four years worth of test match experiences spread around across 6 players over the last 4 years. And that is I don't know, that is quite a lot of wasted opportunities. I think anyway, in a 10 jersey, I think they should just stick to one person and just really commit to that person and see how that goes. And especially, chopping the changes, it's going to bring some confidence issue as well. Sam Prendergast, he is good. A lot of you guys saying that he's really good in club rugby. I thought Crowley was outstanding on the weekend. and he pretty much pulled the game away as soon as he came onto the field. Much better goal kicking as well. Yeah, I just don't know if this is I don't know if this strategy of just keep dumping tens is gonna be long term sustainable to Andy Farrell's setup. I know he's trying to find somebody to replace Johnny Sexton, big shoes to fill, but you really have to just kind of stick to one guy and just give him as much opportunity as you can, because yeah, that is quite a lot of test caps being wasted, thrown away in quite an important position as well for any team to do that. Yes, we'll talk about this already. Hugh Jones, hat-trick on weekend, really well done, and it's going to be needing a big performance again against Ireland this weekend. Sam Skinner has been added into the squad for Scotland due to injuries to Scott Cummings and Max Williamson, and so addition to the Scotland team for the weekend. So there was some talks about Scotland team trying to make money. So they obviously lost quite a bit of money last year. Increase a loss of $11.3 million pounds, increase from 10.5 million in the previous year. And they talk about how to increase the profitability. If you actually have a look at I had a look at their financial report. One of the biggest problem is the stupid decisions that the management made, selling the upside of the URC and the Six Nations for a fixed return income. So basically what they've done is the Six Nation money coming in, instead of just taking whatever profit, they wanted a guarantee. They wanted a guarantee baseline, and they wanted to leave the extra profit to someone else. So they sold the right to the property to someone else, to another company, to an investment firm, and the investment firm basically guarantees Scotland Rugby a set amount every year, regardless of how much money they're making from the Six Nations. So if they make really shit money, then the Scotland basically still get their, I think $20 million or whatever. And then if they do make really good money, like 50 million, Scotland still get 20 million, right? Then the upside goes to the investment firm. So it's a really bad decision. They have that same deal with the URC as well. It's a really, really bad decision from Scotland, because Six Nations and the URC has been doing pretty well. I think they made that decision out of desperation during COVID. So yeah, really short-sighted decision. I think they're locked into that for like a number of years as well. So maybe just don't make shit business decisions, and then there will be a sustainable business, right? It's again, some of this management, you don't know where they went to, business school. Yeah, really, really poor decisions left and right there from Scotland. So the Rugby World Cup half, pool at Rugby World Cup hosting venues has been announced for Australia, and finally, I got my wish. It's coming to Sydney for the Rugby World Cup final. And there was some talks last year they were going to go to Melbourne at the MCG, and I thought, oh, just stupid, right? Hardly there's any local fans there. Just purely going there for political reasons, because the Melbourne Rebels was being supported by the Victorian government, and the Victorian government went to Rugby Australia and said, hey, if you want us to support the Rebels, we're going to need you to do something for us in return, and bringing these big sporting events to our city. And that's why the Bledisloe Cup went there twice in a row on a Thursday night, no less, because they have to, right? Because contracted, and I thought it would have been a disgrace if they're given the Rugby World Cup final to Melbourne as well under these sort of conditions. And the class of Melbourne Rebels has freed us, Rugby Australia, from having to make these decisions. And yeah, it's coming to Sydney, where you should be, with your biggest, maybe Brisbane, the other place, but Sydney has a bigger stadium, so yeah, it would be probably the best option. And also, I just want to relive my childhood again in the Rugby World Cup final here in Sydney at her home bush. So that'd be really nice. And also the World Cup opener will be playing in Perth with the Perfect Tank, right? It'll be a Perfect Tank with the Wallabies versus probably the South Africans, probably the Springboks, because yeah, most likely I think will be the Springboks. I know the pool size hasn't been announced, but yeah, it's probably going to be the Springboks. Fingers crossed in that opening match at Perfect Tank, right? And so that's pretty much it. The Melbourne Cricket Ground will be hosting some quarterfinal matches and stuff, but the big one, the grand final, will be here in Sydney. Now there is a little bit of an issue. I'm pretty sure the Sydney, maybe it's not an issue. Did they change it? I'm pretty sure the what is it? Homebush, what do they call it? Stadium Australia, whatever they call it, ANZ Stadium or something, whatever they call it. I'm pretty sure the stadium when they played in 2003, it was big enough for 100,000 people because of the Olympics in 2000 and then they reduced it down to about 80,000 people nowadays. So it's actually smaller than the stadium that was in 2003 by about 20,000 people, maybe even 20, maybe not, maybe it was reduced already at that time. I think it was already reduced 80,000 people at that time. But anyway, it's revamped. It's really nice. It's got big flat screen TVs everywhere. But yeah, I think it might be a little bit smaller than it was in the year 2000. Someone might let me know this if you're Australian watching this. So Michael Zola Mapimpi last week, eye gouging, has been found guilty. A lot of you guys saying that I was making fake news, but he have found guilty. He has has apologized and resulting in a 50% reduction on his conduct. So he was initially going to be suspended for 4 weeks, a 50% reduction, reduced down to 2 weeks, and then there was 1 week added onto his punishment because he had a similar offense in previous seasons. So yeah, this is not the first time he's done something like this. So he's been suspended for 3 weeks. So Michael Zola Mapimpi, yeah, I know a lot of you guys, look out to him, but yeah, sometimes I think he probably, in the heat of the moment, he probably got lost a little bit there, and yeah, not really good look for him. So yeah, the Wales versus Italy, the wooden spoon game. So someone has been, coping a lot, sniffing those copium in Wales. They're basically saying that this is going to be a pretty much, despite Italy supposed to be the favorites going into this game, it's statistically Italian actually have never won ever in the round 2 of Six Nations. Ever since they joined Six Nations, they have never won their round 2 match. So Wales will be hoping that's going to be the case again this weekend to end their losing streak against Italy. A couple of injuries for Wales, pretty bad. Owen Watkins was definitely out. Liam Williams has a bit knee issues, so he may or may not be okay. He did play the whole match. Good news for Wales is Flyhalf has returned and he will be available and this weekend. So yeah, it's gonna be tough. They also called back Tam Plumtree as well to the fold for the Aaron Wainwright. Had a bit of a face injury, so he might not be available due to that. We already talked about this. And yeah, so did I miss anyone? Liam Williams. Owen Watkins also out as well due to a bit of a knee injury. So yeah, 3 big injuries: Watkins, Williams, and Wainwright to the Welsh team going into the Italian lineup. So Eddie Jones came out. I thought this was absolutely hilarious. Eddie Jones came out. He was on the ITV commentary table, and he basically came out and said, firstly, I'm glad I'm out. That's a good joke there, Eddie. I don't think any of your English subjects will be happy that you made that joke. I don't think anybody will find that funny. But the more egregious part is that he said, for England to go forward, they need a couple of those senior guys to step up, show the way, and bring the young guys with them. It's pretty rich coming from Eddie Jones, considering he sacked all the senior players at the Wallabies going into the Rugby World Cup, and he has the balls to come out and say that as the reason that England lost to Ireland. Yeah, this guy is senile, or he's just mentally challenged at this stage. I think he's just getting a bit too old. He can't remember what happened last year, right? Less than 12 months ago, what he did himself, right? Like, this was literally, 6 months ago, and probably a bit 8 months ago, less than a year ago, the stuff that he did. He has the balls to come out and say that. My God, Eddie, you're an absolute disgrace. Absolute disgrace. And lucky for him, the Wallabies will be playing against Japan in Tokyo in the November, the Wallabies Spring Tour. And I was hoping this would come to Sydney because I will go to that game and I will buy a very expensive ticket so I can see him and I will yell at him, right? I will call him a traitor. I wanted to call him a traitor in real life pretty badly. So for the English, they have Jamie George returning to go and come up against France. He has been injured a little bit, and they do have an injury for England. Caden Murley is being out with a foot problem. I don't think it was that great on the weekend, to be honest. Alex Lazowski has been called in to replace him. Yeah, I didn't think, there was a lot of inexperience, failing to catch the ball and then knocking it in goal. And then there was another one in the corner from a Keenan grubber kick, and he did not ground the ball for some reason, and it was held up and dragged out. And yeah, it was just some of these decision making, not really sure. Yeah, probably just the nerve that really got to him a little bit, not a little bit undercooked, a little bit undercooked. So yeah, it's a French from this weekend. They will be getting the return of Damien Penaud, so potentially that's a big up for the French. But they are going to have to go without Romain Ntamack. He is being cited for a red card for a shoulder charge to the head, and yeah, that's not really ideal. But there's some talks about who should play 10, who should play fly half. Antoine Dupont could be going to 10 with Legarrette coming in at 9. I thought Legarrette was really good coming off the bench, and yeah, and then maybe there were some talks that bringing in the fullback, what's his name, Ramos at 10. And maybe there was some talks about bringing back Jalibert. We'll see how the French is going to handle it. But, I think that, the French, the style that French play mostly comes out of the 9 jersey anyway. So, whoever plays 10 is not really too much of an issue for the French without a proper 10 there, as shown in the past. So, I think it's probably best to leave Antoine Dupont at 9 and just have somebody like Jalibert come back to play 10 there. There was some interesting stats the weekend. According to the scientists, Antoine Dupont was the worst 10 on the weekend. You can tell how stupid some of these stats are. Pass distance it's completely meaningless. Number of passes as well, completely meaningless. Depends on the style you play. And you should show the kicking, the kicking game, the line breaks. Antoine Dupont brings something that I don't think any of these guys have. Line breaks. Maybe some turnovers, the breakdowns. Antoine Dupont probably had a couple of those as well. Pass distance, max distance low, average pass distance low, pass speed is low. It just shows none of these stats that people are using is relevant to the performance of the player. And yeah, and also Antoine Dupont only played about 40 minutes. So he was taken off pretty early in the second half, 45 minutes maybe. And Legarrette was on the field after that. Legarrette had even lower stats despite playing pretty much 30 minutes or so. 30-something minutes or so. So it shows that none of these stats actually means anything. And yeah, very, very, very interesting to say the least. Anyway, guys, that's the news for this week. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. And I'll see you guys for the reviews for the 2 big games this weekend. France versus England, and then Ireland versus Scotland. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And thanks for watching. Have a good week. Cheers.